Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours, with 10% off using code FD10. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Photography, and this is a video that's a little bit different to usual because, well, there's a couple of reasons actually. First of all, one of the questions I get asked more than almost anything is, what cameras do you use when you're shooting those videos? Because there's lots of different angles and things. Actually, that's not entirely true. The most asked question is, how much money do you make? And have you met Clarkson? And the answers to those are less than you think. No, I haven't. But we can talk about cameras. And also, I have started another channel called Clickbait. There's a link in the description below because I am absolutely obsessed with photography. It's something I've done since I was a kid and I love it. And so I'm doing a video channel about that. I've not put many videos on there just yet, just because it's the old chicken and egg thing. Because Clickbait isn't monetized, I don't, but I want Clickbait to be monetized, so I need to make videos. Which one do you do? So anyway, I thought I'd tell you guys about it, and also of course tell you about how we shoot the Furious Driving videos. Now, if you're a new or aspiring YouTuber and you're looking at all this stuff thinking, geez, this is a ridiculous amount of kit and I've got £4.50 to start this thing with, don't panic, because you've got the perfect thing to start a YouTube channel in your pocket right now, and that is your phone. Whether it's a Galaxy, an Android, an iPhone, you've got a great camera with amazing capabilities, and there are a lot of really good channels which started on a mobile phone, which are still shooting on a mobile phone. I think legit Streetcars shoots on Android phones only. The only difference now is, of course, he's got better gimbals and better microphones, and that is something I'll come back to in a minute because audio is very important indeed. Now, I, unlike a lot of YouTubers, didn't start on mobile phones. Because I've been working in photography for a long time, I had access to proper cameras, and so I thought I should do this properly, which actually made life an awful lot harder for me at the time, because I started off with, well, I've been using Nikon cameras since the year dot, film SLRs, digital SLRs, and now Nikon Z series, which is coming along quite well now. It was a bit iffy at first, but it's got an awful lot better over the time, and I'll come back to that as well in a second too. Now, because I was using a big Nikon DSLR which could shoot video, I thought I'm going to use this. Unfortunately, it wasn't perfect. It was too big, it was too cumbersome, and had the limitation that you could only focus before you started recording a video. Once you've got the video recording, you couldn't then autofocus once the thing was actually rolling, which made things really tricky if a subject is moving about in front of the camera. Not great. So anyway, I stuck with that for a while. It was not going well. Then I tried a Fuji, which had similar problems. Also had the weird little restriction that the microphone jack is a tiny sub size. So you have to use an adapter, which all gets knocked, gets pulled out, gets broken, and it's one more point of failure in a video. And you need as few points of failure as possible. So when you've finished, it all works in the camera. Eventually Nikon brought out the Z series, which is what we've got here, and I thought I'd give that a try, first of all with the Z6 and later on with the Z6 II, which is a big improvement. Now, I didn't move to Sony because I'd heard lots of reliability issues with them, the cameras breaking after a short time, and I didn't really like the colours that Sony's make either. And of course it means a complete system change. When you've got years of accessories, you don't want to jump into a new system willy-nilly. I did, after I got the Z6 II, do a video comparison against a Canon, because Canons are comparably good, I would say, to the Nikons, but everyone was raving about the Canon autofocus, and the Z6 II had a firmware update, and well, there's a video over on Clickbait about what I thought about it. Anyway, I got the Z6. It was a game changer because it's an awful lot smaller than a DSLR, being a mirrorless, and the focus worked when you're shooting, so you can keep on updating the focus. However, two limitations. First of all, no tally light, which means you can't see if it's recording or not, and there is nothing more frustrating than recording a long piece that you can't repeat because they're maybe doing a car thing, you got one chance to drive it, getting back and finding the camera had stopped and you didn't know because there's no warning on the front of it. And secondly, no face tracking. If you're shooting on a phone, which is really handy, you've probably seen if you filmed just friends' parties and stuff, it will track faces. It keeps everything in focus all the time, which is great. So along came the Z6 II, which does that. It tracks faces, but it still doesn't have the tally lights. You still don't know if it's recording. But it's so annoying because there is a light on the front which tells you when the camera is charging. For example, if you plugged it into USB, that could be turned into a tally light. Just a software update. Come on, Nikon. And these are both full frame cameras, so when I'm shooting the internal shots of a car when I'm driving, that's using a 14mm lens, which means you can get the entire interior in from window to window across the side with the camera attached to the back window. And to do that, I use this very sturdy mount indeed. This is made by a company called Manfrotto. They're an Italian tripod company, and yeah, this is really handy for sticking a camera inside and makes life very easy indeed. But whop that on there, get shots inside the car. But outside the car, I tend to use a 24 to 70, which is a standard range of zoom, which is nice and sharp. This is an f2.8 one, which means that you can open the lens up really for shallow depth of field and make things separate from the background. And this is the photographer in me coming out, because I want things to look really pretty and a bit cinematographic, that's the word I'm trying to come up with, and make things look good. And to that end, I also have this thing. You might have noticed the sliding, drifting shots in my videos, and this thing's called a slider. You attach the camera on here and you push it gently left to right on there, and it's a bit of a knack to get that right, but it does make a nice, interesting little difference to the B-roll that you're getting. Rather than just a static shot, you get something with a bit of movement. And of course, to go with those, we've also got a big tripod, and of course the camera's on a second tripod over there, so if I'm shooting more than one camera at once, we've got another tripod. And over in the barn, I added a third tripod, fourth or fifth, I've got a few tripods, because I kept forgetting tripods when I was going over there. Important to always have a tripod on hand. All this is very well and good, but with these Z6 and Z6 IIs, no tally light, and the screen only goes up and down, which is great for still photography, not great for video. Then Nikon did us all a huge favour and brought out this, the Z30, which is a video focused camera intended primarily for video use, so no viewfinder, and the screen folds round to the front so you can hold it at yourself and see yourself in shot. And wonder of wonders, it's got a tally light, so if you start recording with it, you can see from in front of the camera it's actually recording. Fantastic. Now, it's a much cheaper camera than those things, which doesn't make it disposable. Instead of being a full frame sensor like in these cameras, it's a 2/3 size sensor, which means that your 14mm on here suddenly becomes about a 20mm or a bit wider, and that means when you stick it on the back of a car, you can't see the entire interior. So it's perfect, except it isn't. I think this will be the point of this video, is that there's no such thing as a perfect vlogging camera. Everything has a limitation. So anyway, between these three cameras, this is how I do the bulk of my shooting. Fix the Z6 in the back window, lock the focus, 14mm lens, got the interior shots. Z6 II when you're walking around talking to camera, all good there. And then for vlogging stuff, talking to myself, talking to the camera, doing workshop videos, the Z30. Everything covered with the Nikons just there. Bit extreme, but then it is my everyday job as well as doing YouTube. I do still photography for work, so I need cameras and I need lenses. But then we've got the action stuff as well, which where things get very interesting. Now, if you've ever watched any of my Go for a Drives video, you'll have noticed there's lots of external shots of the car whizzing around, looking all exciting and dynamic and stuff. And that's down to the GoPros. And we've got 4 of these things. I've had more of these, but it's amazing considering this is an action cam, which is meant to be absolutely unbreakable, how quickly they break. These are 2 of the, I think, series 4 or 5 little ones. One has got a crack all across the back of the screen. The other one, none of the screens work at all, but the red light still comes on, so I know it's recording. Those will be, I guess, retired at some point in the near future when they do finally pack up as well. But they're basic. They've got microphones which are so pointless, so bad. I don't know why they bothered to put one in, but they do the job quite well. And if one does get destroyed on a job, I'm not going to cry too much because, well, they've worked a lot of years and they're pretty tired now. Then we've got the Hero 8, which is a massive leap up in terms of video quality, and with the media mod that it's plugged into, sound quality as well. Unfortunately, the GoPro 8 battery lasts about 15 minutes, so it's basically useless. And I was using this for blogging type stuff because with the media mod you can plug a microphone in the back, which is again a game changer for in terms of audio quality and making things look and feel professional and be watchable. So this thing is good, but it's a bit rubbish in that respect. And finally, we've got the GoPro 10, again in its media mod, so I can plug microphones in. This is a bit more quality in terms of video than the 8, and the sound quality is better and the battery life is better. But with the USB-C, I can actually plug an external battery pack into it, and I had been using this for recording things like the NEC show when I'm walking around for a long time, because the stabilization on these makes it really good for walking around. However, this is the second GoPro 10 that's been replaced under warranty, and the third media mod that's been replaced under warranty, because they just keep on breaking. And I've done videos where the sound is just absolutely unlistenable. But I was doing all my workshop videos on this thing, but every time I used it, the sound's like, and I don't know why. And so yeah, I no longer trust this. This is really good for external stuff. It should be perfect for doing walkarounds, but I just don't trust it anymore. So now for walkarounds and for workshop and stuff, I'm using this Nikon Z30. The stabilization isn't quite as good, but you know, at least I can trust it. And when it comes to sticking these cameras on the outside, I use these rather good Panavise brackets. I know JM on Cars uses a different bracket which has got 3 suckers, which does add an element of security. So if one sucker comes off, you've still got 2 more holding the camera to the car. That said, I've only lost cameras twice and I have found them both times, and I've done a lot of sticking cameras to cars, so I don't know, maybe it's overkill. If you've got 3 suckers, it's harder to find a surface to put them onto sometimes. It swings and roundabouts. There's no perfect solution to anything. And of course, audio. I just cannot emphasize how important audio is to making your videos be watchable. People will put up with an awful lot. Out of focus stuff, I know when I'm shooting the dashboards of cars sometimes, this has got a follow focus function on it, and it will think about what it's doing, but it will jump forward. So if the steering wheel drifts into shot when I'm looking at the radio in a car, it will automatically focus on the steering wheel because it's nearer, and that's very frustrating. However, people will tolerate that. They won't tolerate bad sound, and I'm shooting on Fuji today, and I'm really hoping the sound is good because I've used this camera before and it's a bit touch and go, to be honest, but because I want everything else in shot, I need to use something different. Now, when I first started, I used this big Rode shotgun mic, which is great if you're doing interviews of people who are standing in front of a camera. However, when you're filming yourself, it's kind of too big and chunky and it's not great. So I tried using the Rode video mic, which has got a dead cat wind fluffer thing on it. It's only tiny like that. A lot of YouTubers use this exclusively and they get amazing results. I think Hoovy uses this and it sounds really good. I have never had a good result from this microphone and I don't know why. I'm not quite sure what my settings are wrong for, but I cannot get good sound off this. So I've moved on to Rode video mics, which is this little square thing you can see on my lapel. First with the Generation 1, which was good, but there's always limitations. Things are never perfect. There's only one microphone. So if you're doing an interview and you're talking with another person, you can only have one microphone, which does limit you a lot. And also, the connector for the camera is a screw fit, not a clip fit. So as soon as the Go 2 came out, I got a pack of these, and these look exactly the same, but you got 2 microphones, and you got a clip on the back of it so you can clip your transmitter and receiver to anything you want to. Much better. This is my A set, which has decided it's only going to record in mono at the moment, which is frustrating. So I need to go and plug that in and do some diagnostics on it. Because these have got built-in lithium batteries, they do last a really long time, but once they're flat, you've got to go and recharge them off a USB-C. You can't change the battery. So I wound up having to buy a second set, which is what I'm talking to you on right now. The B set, as I call it. So that gives you backup in case something fails, and also if you're doing a really long day at a big car show like the NEC, you can keep on shooting all day. So if one battery pack goes down, you can switch over to the other ones. Well, that's the basics. Then you've got the extra stuff to make things just a little bit more zazzy. First of all, this isn't really an extra, this is an essential. More batteries for all the cameras. Any camera you can get a spare battery for, take a spare battery, because you never know when it's going to fail. Now, of course, we've got in the front of the shot the drone. This is a Mavic Mini 2, which means it sits under 250 grams. That means you can fly in an awful lot more locations. If you've got a bigger drone than this, then you are tied very heavily by restrictions and the law. This thing, tiny, you can fly it almost anywhere. That means you get stills video from other angles. And Hubnut just did a video where he was sponsored by a tiny autonomous drone. That's a great thing to have as well. But anything that adds another angle to the video is great. Also in the car right now, you might be able to see it, we've got lights. These are just cheap Chinese from Amazon lights, because if I'm doing a live stream, a thing shooting myself in the office or in here, it's very dark and dingy, and adding a bit more something just lights things up an awful lot. And you might be able to see it in the front of the shot. Gaffer tape. No photographer leaves home without gaffer tape or cable ties. And it looks like you're about to go kidnap someone, but in fact, it's amazing how much gaffer tape does get used. You might be able to see it fluttering in the corner of the shot up there. I'm hoping I can crop it out. But I was getting terrific lens flare on that camera over there, and I've made a huge extended lens hood out of gaffer tape to save myself from that. Now, I do literally everything myself on these videos. I research it. I don't script everything, but when I do, I script it myself. Otherwise, I work from bullet points. Because I can't memorize it and read when I'm driving, so bullet points to remember from. I stand behind behind the camera and pre-focus and point it in the right direction, hope I'm shooting the right thing. I do the sound myself and I edit myself. So literally every part of this process is just me on my own. So when people complain about the sound person or the video person hasn't done a very good job, I don't know whether to be insulted that people are saying my work's not good, or impressed that they thought there was more than one person here doing everything, literally everything, in front of and behind the camera. This is the thing, when you're in front of the camera, you can't tell what the camera's doing, so you can't always see that it's in focus or not, or that the camera's stopped recording or the audio is cut out. This, with the flip out screen, does make life an awful lot easier. And there are quite a lot of small blogging cameras from Canon and Sony, little compacts with built-in lens that are designed specifically for vlogging, and they do this kind of stuff quite well as well. And yeah, if you're going to move up from mobile phones, definitely recommend one of those kind of things. I'll put links to all this stuff in the description below onto Amazon so you can have a look yourself, see if anything looks suitable for what you're trying to do. So yeah, this is the cameras of furious driving, the furious photo fleet instead of the furious car fleet for a change. I do kind of wish I was just using some little kind of DJI Osmo gimbal thing to shoot on, because that would make life so much easier. But then those have got their own little problems and limitations. Everything you do in this kind of world is a compromise, trying to get the balance between what you can carry, what you can take, battery life, audio quality. Of course, when I'm shooting cars, I've got a polarizing filter on the front of this lens, which means I can control the reflections and the color saturation to a certain extent. Again, with some of the compacty things and phones, you can't do that. It's a fun game we play. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting and maybe enlightening, and a bit of a glimpse behind the scenes of how this stuff actually works. If this kind of stuff floats your boat, then please head over to Clickbait, link in the description underneath. Give this a like and maybe give a subscribe to this channel and the other one, and join us again next time when we'll be hacking about breaking cars some more, or on Clickbait where we're playing with cameras. Thanks for watching.